this training has really, honestly, it's going to be a quicker way to get into that state, which I'm really looking forward to. So, I mean, not only for ourselves, which I think you could even see from the whole staff.
It's like the next big thing.
Greetings and welcome to the Compromise to Alchemize podcast with me, your host, Dr. Neil Bolchandani. We've got a new identification here of my Compromise to Alchemize podcast. I'm subcategorizing into different kinds of focuses, foci, I suppose. So clinical is today. What does that mean? That means I am interviewing a healthcare practitioner that has a lot of knowledge. And so I've decided, I'm going to have these themes that really kind of subcategorize so people, by the heading on the podcast, like what's the focus? Because you know what? We had such a deep discussion, Monica and I did, after the 2-day training that I just did in Indianapolis for her organization, that I'm like, well, the next one we're going to do is going to be called consciousness, because that's another topic that's dear to my heart. And then also we have things like comedy. We'll come up with it. But right now, all I know is it was just clear with some of the interviews that I have coming up, there are people who have pretty advanced clinical knowledge. Not that my prior guests don't. I have some people who have had renown in all kinds of academia and clinical expertise. So let's just say retroactively, we could apply some of these same subheadings. But I'm excited to talk with Monica, and well, I did talk with Monica, right? And it was really amazing. Now, this is fresh. This was just yesterday, and we have another episode in queue, but I really just wanted to put this out because, number one, I'm fresh from my time in Indianapolis. Just flew back last night. I had the amazing time with Monica Purdy and all of her team, Aaron, who helped set up the event and was on her team as well. And so let me intro Monica so you know who am I talking about, and then I'll give you context for what our conversation was like, and then you can dive into the episode. If you want to skip ahead, just know, epic 2-day training, the best. I trained them in my floor 4 method, and they really rocked it. They're seeing dramatic changes already with their kids that are a pediatric team that sees 0 to 21 years old. And they specialize in speech-language pathology, occupational therapy. Monica's also a myofunctional therapist. So they just help with a whole range of neurodevelopmental issues and sensory issues and muscle control, motor control issues. And of course, we're talking tongue tie, we're talking airway, we're talking nervous system regulation. It was a delight to be with the whole team, meeting all of them. Just being at their amazing clinic. Oh, it's so fun. It was, you'll see in this interview, we're in one of the main areas where they have this like play structure and the whole thing's like a play gym. And so Monica painted part of the tree right there and you'll see it. So Monica Purdy she's got an MA, master's, and she's got her SLP COM. So she's speech-language pathologist, and she's also the owner of Kids Abilities Pediatric Therapy. Now, she also has expertise in myofunctional therapy, but here's what she does also. So she graduated from Ball State University. She's got more than 20 years of professional experience dedicated to helping children with special needs communicate. She's also, of course, the owner of this clinic and a level 6 TalkTools therapist and member of the TalkTools instructor team. She holds the certificate of clinical competence in SLP and is a certified Orofacial myologist. Again, I'm kind of being redundant here, but I'm telling you what all the letters mean. She's also prompt trained, SOS trained, and proficient in American Sign Language, expertise in augmentative and alternative communication devices. So what's really cool is TalkTools, for those of you who have had kids or you might be a therapist, you know what TalkTools is. Great tools to help with stimulate the muscles and motor control and feeding and speech. Way more than that. I'm really not doing it justice. I've sent links out to many of my parents to send it to their kids. And when I've collaborated with great SLPs and OTs and IBCLCs and across the board, they're always saying, yeah, this is great. So I'm always loving to learn more about that. So she now for 21 years, she's been teaching. She's been, commissioned by the main person, she'll mention this, who founded the organization to teach a lot of the principles of TalkTools. So, she has just traveled across the world teaching therapists, and she's teaching on topics like orofacial myology, sensory regulation, open mouth posture, and nasal breathing. Now, that's a mouthful, but yeah, let me just say that she's just a deep person with great compassion and care, and of course, this is really what fuels what she does. We get more into her personal legend. We get more into kind of her aspects or perspective on life, but I also will ask her, and I ask her questions about the team and how she took in the training and what do they learn. And I mean, it's fresh, but you'll see how much they already, like, she just knew. And shout out to Melissa Mugno. Shout out to all the amazing people at Myosphere. When Myosphere, I was brought to speak there this last year in North Carolina, as was Monica. And then there were some other amazing people there, like Tony Antonato, representing Spot Pal and speaking. And then, of course, Melissa Mugno was there. And we had Sound Health there. We had a lot of amazing, too many good people to mention, right? Hung out with Trisha Rogers, the speech-language pathologist, who's also a Myo, who's got Miss Tongue and Friends. There's so many amazing people who were there, but it was pretty intimate, and so we got to go deep. And so I led a session, and boy, Monica was just lit up by it, and Melissa was sitting next to her, and they got to talking, and pretty soon before you knew it, Monica had already bought my online course, and then we talked after, and then I met with Aaron via Zoom, and then there we are, planning the organizational training for me to come out to Indiana and train their whole team over 2 days. So we covered so many topics, from the floor 4 and how the tongue, the floor of the mouth, has connection to 70 areas in the body, but we distill it to 4. But it's not about theory, it's about how can the body experience dramatic change with little effort. And so we had demo patients, baby, kid, and older child, and of course everybody on the team kind of got to be a demo. I got everybody into phase shift, so it was pretty amazing to see them get regulated, and then also to see them do that with one another. And before day 1 was up, they were already using the skills. And then when we came back for day 2, even more. It was so funny. Like Monica said, her phone was blowing up because everybody on the team was like, "Hey, I'm doing this on my husband," or And anyways, I just encourage, if your clinic, if you're an office out there and you want this training, I feel like I have some desires of going to a couple places in the U.S. this year and a couple places internationally next year. But I just want to invite you to reach out. My team at neilbulchadani.com can field it, or reach out on Instagram at Dr. Neil Bulchadani. But now let's promote the amazing work of Monica Purdy, the story of her life, the Kids Abilities Pediatric Therapy Clinic. And if you're in Indiana or anywhere near right now, you can go to a place where there's almost 10 people who are skilled in the floor 4 and can help your kids with this work. So it's just amazing when you get to train a team, because I see the culture of the team and how they've already adapted, already worked, and I've still been in touch with them since yesterday, and I can just tell when this is going to carry through. And so, but you know what? We'll find out more very practically soon when I do a post Zoom with them, as that's part of my process. Is I want to see how they're implementing the work. Anyways, let's just see what this episode holds for you. I'm excited, to see what you think. There's a song called Major playing in the background. Jessica, Luna Lux. Enjoy, and I can't wait to hear what you think.
We are the innovators. We have to focus like lasers. We doing it big.
Monica, I'm excited to have this conversation with you on the Compromise to Alchemize podcast. So, okay, like I told you, everybody knows what you do by now, because they've heard the intro, but I want you to tell me, like, tell me in a nutshell what you do. And we're here in Kids Abilities, which is your amazing, epic center in Indianapolis, which I'm happy to be here. And we've just got, like, obviously context is, we just did a 2-day training on the floor 4.
Yeah.
And you're the reason I'm here, and your wonderful team. We are all together. Obviously, it's a mixture of SLPs and OTs, and but yeah, and we just had this time. So I'm asking you questions when you're already like ready, probably to like relax. And but I wanna get some sentiments about the training from you and how it was. But I also want to like really talk more about you and um, how you ended up creating this clinic. And we talked a little bit about all of your experience teaching, and I'm excited to talk more about that.
Okay. Well, so actually the clinic Kids Abilities was created by 2 physical therapists in Minnesota. And I used to work for them.
Okay.
And it was pretty much the only place that I had ever worked at where it was really geared toward families and kids. So I always knew I wanted to move back to Indiana. That's where my family is from. And when I moved back here, it was probably a year after I'd been back. They were like, "So when are we going to open a place?" I was like, "Great." I didn't really think that was even a possibility, but I'd always hoped something like that would happen. And about 3 years into it, they were like, "This is just a lot for us being in a completely different state and whatever. Do you want it?" So it was really like the concept was created by them, but it was given to me, and it's been a huge blessing, I would say, because it's allowed me to create a place that really, and my team has just created this place where we can really be centered around families and looking at kids from a holistic perspective, which, those of us who work here are really passionate about that, right? So we're always constantly thinking outside the box. And, when I met you, I was like, okay, we got to bring, I got to bring you in because this is something that is going to speak to the therapist. And I know that they went home last night and they're implementing it with their significant others. So it's been, I can tell it's going to be very impactful just with what we do as a clinic.
Yeah.
So,
well, meeting you in the Myosphere, as we pay homage to the place that we met in North Carolina, obviously, the amazing Myosphere team created such a cool event, and we were both presenters at it, which was amazing. And I know Melissa Mugno, and she's been on the podcast before, and she was sitting next to you, and seeing you two talk, and then Melissa told me, and pretty soon you had signed up for my Floor of the Mouth online course after the event. And then we talked, and then all of a sudden I'm on with Aaron, who heads up the courses for you and on the team. And after that Zoom, it was like, let's do it. So you I can tell you dive deep and you go deep, and you're looking for what is going to help your people more.
Yes.
And not only your people as in your team, but help your team and you serve people more to help people, help families.
Yes.
So meeting you at Monster is really cool because so that was like speech language therapists who are also myofunctional therapists who got us all together. And I'm, chiropractor by trade, and you are SLP, speech language therapist, also myofunctional therapist. And then there were all kinds of providers, practitioners there.
Yes.
But yeah, it was really cool to meet you there because it was such an intimate gathering. And so that was back in April, I think it was.
Yes.
And so now here we are, May, June, July, August, like 4 months later. It feels like so much has happened. And in one way, I couldn't wait to come. But yeah, anyways, it's like a really beautiful moment to be here. And yeah, I wanted to say, like, Monica painted that she made that tree. Look at that.
It's a work in progress. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you didn't say you were an artist, but
no,
clearly
I'm not
you
an
have
artist.
artistic abilities.
I'm not an artist.
It's beautiful, right? No, I'm not saying that you said that, but I'm like, that's really good. But it's like, it's just part of, I did a reel where I did a walkthrough tour. So anyways, if you check out my Instagram, you'll see that. But it's such a beautiful clinic and such a great, it doesn't feel like a clinic. It feels like such a beautiful center.
Yeah.
Such a great place for kids to play. Like some of these rooms are, I'm like, you would just my kids would play in the rooms.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Well,
So,
some of us, like, I know when my kids were little, and like some of my therapists, now that they're having kids,
yeah.
they bring them up here during the weekend, and they're like, okay, it's like a special time, but it's also, hey, this is where I work,
That's a good sign when your kids, you can bring kids to play, but it's not just a play area. The whole area
Yeah.
is play.
Right.
So
Well,
really
you
fun.
want to go, right?
Yeah.
I mean, therapy's all about, like, I have to be, if something is going to be difficult, I got to be motivated to go do it, So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we're gonna, before we talk more about like what happened here the last couple days, I want to rewind it back to like what was the moment you first knew you'd be involved in helping people like like this kind of thing? Maybe it's like healthcare, or even just like what was the first moment you knew like I want to help people?
That's a good question. I always thought I wanted to be a physical therapist,
Yeah.
and I honestly went through 4 years of college,
Mhm.
and I knew probably like my junior year of college that I don't know if physical therapy is the right thing for me.
Mhm.
And then I thought, oh, psychology, because I like psychology too. So
Yeah.
I was a year away from a degree in that. So 4 years later,
Mhm.
my friend's like, well, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to become a professor? And I was like, oh, I hadn't really planned on that much schooling
Yeah.
left. And she said, you should check out speech therapy. And at that time, Ball State, where I went to school, had a program that if you got a certain GPA, you were accepted into their master's program. So I basically did 2 more years of undergrad and then 2 years of master's. So, and I loved it. When I got into it, I just loved it. And I really do. I mean, I think any of the therapy fields, although there are challenging times, it really is an opportunity to, there's so much that you can do within that field, which is really cool.
Mhm.
Like, just like the myofunctional therapy or feeding or language or reading. And so what I'm trying to do here is really foster therapists, like, what they're passionate about.
Mm.
Because if you're passionate about it, you want to go to work every day,
Mhm.
and it will show through in your work, right?
Yeah.
So, if something isn't your jam, then what is your jam? Like, can I foster that?
Yeah.
And I've really enjoyed seeing therapists come in with ideas, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So that's been really, really fun for me.
Yeah.
And it's made, sometimes the turmoil or the hardships, you're able to go with it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, it's really cool. I can see you foster that environment and the ones, so yeah, the speech language therapists and the occupational therapists and the ones in each of those, like they were here and that you could just see that they were like, well, and they're so happy to be in an environment where they get to learn, and there's an encouragement to learn more. I mean,
yeah,
and it's not just learn, because that is, we want to celebrate that, but
right.
it's like really like you said, kind of like outside of the box or going in depth, like you're willing to create that environment for your center, but also so that these amazing people can come and learn more, so that you all can, as a unified front, help more people too.
Yeah, and they can continue to grow as people,
Yeah.
right? I mean, not just in, their profession, but I feel like, the trainings that we bring in, not only are they good for our clients, but they're good for us
Yeah.
too. So we're really trying to look at that whole, dyad of, like, the therapist, the client, the family, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And it's, whenever you journey with families, you just it's like, like it's a sacred, beautiful,
it
special thing.
is.
So
It is.
I know that you carry that in your
Yeah.
heart.
Right. I mean, and any of my therapists will tell you that oftentimes, families, they're looking to us to help guide them. And
Mhm.
we really do take that responsibility very seriously.
Yeah.
Um, we don't always have the right answers, but we're willing to try and lead them to a person that might be able to help answer that question.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, we don't claim to be, experts. we're constantly learning, but we love what we do.
Yeah.
You know? So.
And I want you to tell me again, we talked about it some, but could you tell me, well, not only like, so you've been teaching for quite
Yes.
some time and you've taught in a lot of places.
Yes, I
Tell
teach
us.
for TalkTools, and I teach Sarah Rosenfeld Johnson's approach. It's an oral placement therapy, is what it is. It's a muscle-based program that basically uses tactile cues to help get a movement for feeding and speech. So that's really all it is. And then once you get that movement, you immediately put it into function.
Yeah.
So it's just a different way of looking at clients. And yeah, she let me start teaching for her in 2005. And I've had the amazing opportunity to travel all over the world and share that knowledge with other professionals.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about being energized, that gets me energized,
Yeah.
when you're doing something that you love, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's
go
cool.
ahead.
Yeah. It's just cool to see the connections that therapists make.
Yeah.
And then it's awesome to like hear their stories and how it's impacted their clients,
Well,
I don't know. Yeah.
I know I was telling you, I've like, how many times have I copy paste the link to this tool or TalkTools or that tool? So many parents have been like, "Hey, would you send me?" Sometimes I'm like, "Oh yeah, let me get my team to send it, or I'll send it." They're so excited to get a tool that will help foster more change outside of the office, because I'm doing the work that I'm doing with people, but they need tools that can help on an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
And of course, as like therapists, it's amazing to use those tools. So I can't tell you how many times I've been like, talk tools this, talk tools that, or I didn't even know back then that you were there, because I was just using it more as like a resource, and I knew I was always going to collaborate with somebody, an SLP or an OT, who may already be familiar with it. But there were times when I didn't have anybody to refer with, so I was trying to manage my time and say, well, I know at least you can go check out Talk Tools, go get that thing.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think what's so great and what's so great about your program too is that, it's more about training the family, right? Because you want the family to be able to help their child.
Yeah.
We're just kind of the facilitators in that regard. And I think that, that's what's so great, because I'll be honest with you, a lot of times, a lot of families, they can't afford, crazy, intensives. And so we always try to be very realistic and what can really make an impact,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so good. I mean, because it's like there's the cost of time, there's the cost of money, there's the expense in the so like with something like those tools, and also just the way you work, like you're looking to help people change their culture even at home, to where they know, oh, I have accessible some of these things that I was taught by Monica and your team, to carry those out.
Yeah,
So that
we're
it
giving
makes
them
its way.
power.
Yeah, it
right?
gives them power. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe just paint the picture a little more. Can you list the countries you've taught in? I
Oh
love
gosh.
hearing that. I know Philippines,
Yes.
India.
So Philippines, India, I go to India probably twice a year. And then I also do like online for them as well. Been to Poland and Chile and, the UK, Greece.
Wow.
I've been there a couple times. Singapore,
And these are all just your own
Africa.
vacations. Now you're going to list where, I'm just.
No.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
It's so cool that you're interacting with people from all those places, and not only like getting to bring knowledge,
Yeah.
but I also want to ask you, like, so, okay. And that is, we could just spend our whole time talking about, well, what was it like to teach there? What was it like to teach there? And where in Africa did you go?
I went to Cape Town
Cool.
and Johannesburg.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So those are the two main areas that I've taught in.
What I'll ask is, there is something about like me wanting to know about what was it like to teach there, but like how did those places shape you? Like what was like something where you feel very drawn to India, and like you're going there, and there's a lot, you were going a couple times a year, right? Yeah. Is there
Yes.
anything where you're like the first time you went to one place where you were like just that culture, that place spoke to you?
I would say, well, that's interesting because really, even though every place has a different culture,
Mm-hmm.
as people, we're really at the root all the same.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
those of us who are in the field that we're in, we really just want to help people, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And
Yeah.
a lot of times the people that I'm encountering are there because they're seeking out knowledge to help others.
Yeah.
So we all have that commonality, you
Mhm.
know? They're not there to like, make a ton of money or whatever it is, right? But you're there to help your clients that you're serving and to help those families. So that commonality, it doesn't matter, what language you speak or what religion you practice. We all have that commonality,
Mm.
and that we're people,
Yeah.
and it's cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Love that.
And I love that. So just,
Mhm.
whatever, religion or language, I mean, I just love experiencing it,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, and I think probably I've taken bits and pieces from every place that I've been, I had probably the most impact of like feeling like in awe when I went to Ecuador.
Mm.
Um, and not because it was like this like lavish rich place or anything like that. I think it's because it was just beautiful, and the people, I mean, I just love the people that I serve or get to experience and teach with. It's great.
Mhm.
They're like, can become my family.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I made some really good friends, and yeah.
Well, we share this in common that I haven't been to all those places, but we share in common that we both are like people who are passionate about the people we get to help one to one. And then also getting to educate and bring knowledge to other healers, to other practitioners, and to help them foster them into like a greater deep depth of awareness. And so that's like I carry that too. And I know getting to go to different places and interact with people, I'm like, it's just more like we're collapsing divisions within humanity. And just, you're right. It's like we're all just people on this planet and we're commingling, we're living. But like, the, and I know some people haven't been to a lot of these places. So it's kind of like, well, but to get to go there, it's quite special. And then it's almost like when you go to one place or two places, it's almost like those places make such a mark on you that you're like, wow. But when you go to more, you've been to a lot of places and multiple times, you're like, it does come back to, even though those places are special, we're all. I can get this feeling from you of like we're
Yes,
all special.
we are.
Yeah, I love
Every
that.
every single person. I mean, and I think that, you know, obviously, like when you go to different countries, some countries are very like at war with each other. And even within our own society, we have that kind of, there can be that underlying, you know what I mean? But I choose to look at it differently,
Mhm.
right? And I do think the older I get, the more that becomes a choice
Yeah,
that you have to make as an individual, right?
yeah,
Because if not, you live your life like negative, 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 and you miss out on all the wonderful things that are positive.
hmm,
And I don't know. I always believe that kind of how you look at things, that's what draws, it's, yeah, the
yeah,
theory that what you put out there, it comes back to you, right?
yeah, totally.
So
Yeah, actually, and you started to tell me about how you wanted to be a physical therapist, and then clearly you went the direction you went.
yeah.
But before that, what was leading you to be in a healing field, like even in the first place? Like, how far back do you remember knowing? Yeah, I mean, maybe when you started to want to become a physical therapist, what was it that provoked you to want to do that?
Honestly, I don't know.
Hmm.
Like I mean, I always felt like when I was little that there would be something God wanted me to do,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, and for a long time I wanted to be a firefighter pilot.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's just because of Top Gun, I think.
Okay, yeah. We go. I think
Yeah.
there's a okay, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a pediatrician who's been on here who he said that he wanted to be I think he also said he wanted to be a fighter pilot.
Now I hate roller coasters, so
Okay,
that really
right.
would not be a good thing for me.
Well,
Okay.
we know this is the strength of movies. Is that
Yeah, right. Yeah.
okay? So let's say clearly you did not become a fighter pilot.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. What was it next? What did you want to do next?
So next was I wanted to be a physical therapist.
Okay.
At some point I wanted to be a lawyer, whatever. But I mean, I think it's just normal kid stuff like, oh, what do you want to be? A doctor, a lawyer, you know. Um, you don't really even know, I don't think, all of the possibilities of things that you can be,
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because like if we just like kind of like so I honor the and love the physical therapy field and of course your
Yeah.
field. And then it's like, well, to pan out, it's like you wanted to be in the healing fields. And clearly you are, and you're doing a lot of things that help people heal and help with a lot of function. So that's common with physical therapy, although your field is very distinct and very separate. And so I'm, of course, knowing that. But what was it that made you think physical therapy? What was it like a case of like you experienced a lot of breakthrough and healing or somebody or did you just come across like you heard about it somewhere and it just made sense to you?
I have an aunt who is a physical therapist,
Okay.
and ironically, we share the same birth date.
Wow.
And I don't know if that's even why, but
Mhm.
yeah, I just always kind of latched onto that for some reason.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, clearly it's funny. Whenever my wife is like, she'll catch me, I'll always say sleep language therapist. And she's like, you're saying sleep. And I'm like, speech. There's- but crazily, how many people are you helping with sleep, right? Because of airway, because of
Yes.
myofunctional
Yeah.
therapy and helping with tongue.
More now
rectification.
than ever
Yeah.
I would have thought about.
Yeah.
Right.
So whenever I slip up, I'm like, "Man, I think I'm probably like getting to like what the evolution of speech language therapy, who
Yeah.
has more expertise in myofunctional therapy like you do, and but even with that, there's more like the knowledge you have of like the muscular system and motor control, and then yeah, I mean, there's so much. So maybe though, I want to ask you this question, and I think you got to it when you're like, you just figured God would let you know at some point. So
My motto has always been where God guides, he will provide.
yeah.
And I think for anyone who owns a clinic, I mean, or any kind of business,
Mhm.
if you're passionate about it, you kind of at some level in your head have to go with that.
Yeah.
Because it's not like I was a person that was sitting on a pile of money and could be like, hey, I'm gonna start this.
Yeah.
um, and any of my therapists will tell you, like, it's a progression, right? And we started out with two of us, and now, I'd love for there to be more of us,
Mhm.
but the right people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm kind of coming to that realization that, you know what, it's okay if it doesn't need to be this huge thing. We can have our thing and be really good at it. And that's kind of, where I'm at right now,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, you're helping a lot of people I know, from what I've heard and seeing the way you all work, and it's like, y- so I've seen you work on each other, and then we had a few demo, but we're getting into that part when I want to ask you first again about. So I told you a little bit of the backstory of the Alchemist and how that's like a theme
Yeah.
of. There's two themes for my podcast. Compromise to Alchemize is about how can we help people go from compromise to alchemize, and I clearly see that you do that. And so we'll come back to that. The other muse for this podcast is when I read The Alchemist, it was so impactful to me because I understood Paulo Coelho, the author, and how he was talking, and he uses words like. Well, it's a cool part where Santiago the shepherd, who has this dream in the beginning, lives in Andalusia, and his dad, he's talking to him first, and his dad's like telling him, if you want to be a baker, you're going to make more money. And then, but he knows he wants to travel, Santiago. So he's like, well, I want to travel, and he's like, his dad's like, if you want to travel, be a shepherd. And so he gets sheep, and anyways, he ends up having a dream. And that dream, he realizes there's treasure like gold, and he is curious about that. And so at some point, he decides to go and search for that treasure. But he has to sell his sheep, and it's a pretty cool story. Along the way, he goes through this town. He's reading a book, and he's reading this book, and an old man approaches him, and he's sitting, and it's actually Melchizedek in the story, and he's a mystical king,
Okay.
homage to scriptures, right? And they have this conversation. One of the lines that always gets me, and I read the book on the way here on the flight too. I read it so many times, but the king says, um, "The universe conspires in your favor when you are in pursuit of your personal legend." Now, you could say God conspires in your favor when you're in pursuit of your personal legend. And of course, there's a lot to say about that. But I want to ask you this question. And interestingly, the king looks at Santiago, and he's like, I've read that book. And Santiago's like, oh, because he was kind of bothered by this guy who was talking to him. And he's like, oh, okay, you've read the book. And then the king says, yeah, the book's all about how people they fail to realize their personal legend because they think it's impossible, and they think that it's something that will not happen for them. And all these books are all out there saying the same thing. So interesting, because back to this, it's like there's this thought of it's impossible. And I read this quote that you have, and tell me it again.
No limits, only possibilities.
Yeah, I love it. So your quote is the opposite of what this King Melchizedek is reading in all these books. Because if you believe that there's possibilities, you will continue to grow
And
and
pursue them.
pursue.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what would you say? You've already kind of said it in one way, and just know that I'm asking for you of like, what really provokes you? What do you feel like you would say if I ask you, what is your personal legend? Like, what is it that you're pursuing?
I don't know if I really have ever thought about like a personal legend, so to speak. I feel very grateful for every experience and I just feel so grateful.
Mhm.
I don't know if I can
Mhm.
answer that.
Yeah.
What my legend is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just to help as many people as I can, and um yeah,
Yeah.
that's I guess that would be my legend. But I just the gratefulness that I feel is really I just hope other people can get to experience that in their life, and I always tell my kids, be grateful for any situation,
Mhm.
because if you show gratitude, I just really feel like that's going to come back to you,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
So
And what leads you to believe, or like how have you found keys on possibility? Believing in all things are possible, and that there aren't limits that restrict you, constrict you.
I just believe that. I mean, like at my core, I don't know.
That's great. That's a great
I
answer,
just
right?
believe that. I
Yeah.
mean, because yeah, um, you know, I can look back through my life and just see that, where some things people might have looked at and said, "Oh my gosh, there's no way that, you're ever going to do this," there's always been a way.
Mhm.
Kind of going back to where there's a will, there's a way.
Mhm.
And I guess my mom's always told us that, and my parents were divorced at a very early age, when I was very young, and we have always done things that we found a way to do it. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hear a lot. I mean, and you can always like you can redirect me because I'm kind of paraphrasing from what I heard, but I'm like, wow, I just see what you've nurtured in this culture here in your office, and having that quote and having people come into an environment, both your practitioners that you have on your team and the people, the families who come in these
Mhm.
doors, um, to see not only that quote, but to see people, especially you, who lives with that so deep in you that you don't know why.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess so,
it's not
yeah.
like you're like, well, I'm repeating a mantra daily. It's not that. It's like
No.
that's the deep core belief, and then you take that not only here, but you take that to Myosphere, you take that to all these countries you
Mhm.
mentioned, not only to like enjoy those places, I mean, but to bring what you know to other practitioners, and your view of humanity is that we're all one, and despite the struggles, the suffering, the war, that there still is a way that if we can unify and share our knowledge,
Mhm.
we can have a better world.
Yes.
That sounds like what a legend that is, because a
Wow.
legend is a story,
Mhm.
and a story of someone's life is their personal legend. So the story of Monica's life is quite beautiful in that you pursued, you believed, and then you pursued, and then you have manifested this clinic inspired by other people, which is
Mhm.
great. And then you've trained and taught a bunch, and then now it's like, and how far will that go? Because no matter what, right now, so many people, their lives have been touched. The therapists who have worked here, and then the people who have come through these doors. And what a beautiful story in and of itself. And you're not even close to being done.
Yeah, I don't I would say no. My husband always says, "When are you gonna retire?" And I'm like, I don't see myself ever retiring.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to hear that,
Right.
but,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know because I love what I do, and so you know, I'm sure I'm always going to be involved in it in some way.
Mhm.
I'm sure it will, shift and change, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I know it's um the there's many chapters ahead in life. So I can't wait to see what you'll do, and we'll be in touch, obviously. So I'll
Yeah,
get to find out,
definitely.
and we can revisit. But yeah. But so I would love to know. Um, yeah, we just had this 2-day floor four training.
Hmm.
I came in to bring what I know, and very similarly, it just is something that I feel like, I was given, and really felt like God gave me this knowledge, and that, I get to share it. Obviously, I've worked really hard at it, but very kindred with you. And like, I just want this to get out to as many people. But it feels very special that we connected and that we are here and that you were like, well, one of my favorite moments on this whole trip is yesterday, right after we did like day one of the training, and then you were gracious to like you and Aaron. We went to dinner, and but you were just kind of like almost talking to yourself when you're like, "I'm so glad we did this."
Yeah,
I was just kind of like there hearing you talk to yourself
yeah,
and me. Of like, I'm so glad we did this, and it was such a raw, genuine moment where I'm like, I'm so happy we did this too. Like,
yeah,
I'm like standing outside of myself, just loving it because like I look at life as a deep interpersonal, beautiful thing. And so I just feel like connecting with you has been amazing, regardless of this training,
yeah.
regardless of what we did here. And to see what you do and to see like how you're bringing the resource of the floor four and phase shift into your center, and then that it'll like help the people that you're around. It's like that's so cool. It was a fun moment when I heard you say that. I loved that. And so maybe tell me more on that. Why are you so glad?
Well, I'm so glad because it aligns so much with our thinking and just the ability of I am very passionate about the sensory system
Mm,
and just being in this state, this phasic state, right? Where you're able to accept information, um, and how you're able then to process that information. It was going to help so many people, and so what I love about the floor four is that it's another avenue to to get into that state, you know? Um, and obviously there's a lot of like, anatomical stuff that goes into it, but at the core of it is, how can I get my body into that just grounded, you know, being able to accept information.
Hmm.
And I think in our society, there's so many people are not in that state,
Hmm.
you know, um, whether it be because of, visual stimulation that we're constantly getting or whatever it is, but when you talk about any of our clients that we work with, like that have feeding issues or, speech or motor issues, that state is imperative.
Yeah.
And, not only for that particular client, but also for their family.
Hmm.
Because, feeding has there's so much like um, trauma or, stuff that goes along with it. Right.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. I think anytime we can bring people into that, then you're going to be more open to receiving information
Yeah.
and having a connection and a relationship with your child. I mean, that's one of the things that we've really loved is that parents will say, "Oh my gosh, I actually like we're having a conversation."
Yeah.
Or we can go to a coffee shop and I'm not stressed out, right? I mean, those little tiny things, huge,
Yeah. Yeah.
huge. So yeah, I think that this training has really, it's just honestly, it's going to be a quicker way to get into that state,
Yeah.
which I'm really looking forward to. So, I mean, not only for ourselves, which I think you could even see from the whole staff,
Hmm.
at the end of this, how everybody was just in a grounded state.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
Right. I
Mhm.
mean, so yeah. And I know that come tomorrow morning, people are going to be like, okay, doing it,
Yeah. I mean, it's fun because you have, well, what's cool is though if we go back to like after Myosphere, which was in April,
Hmm.
you had already said like you told me you're like I started because I did 2 segments or sessions there at Myosphere, but it
Yes.
was like a couple hours or so.
Yeah.
Whereas this training, it's like a day and a half of
Hmm.
training. So, but you took that 2 hours of me getting you guys all into phase shift without working on you. So that was the goal of that and talking about it, and you ran with it. So,
I came back and like I was like, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'm dealing with floor, mouth tension and I made up this own like, rock the boat type of thing, but you're taking it to a different level and I'm like, okay, let me see if this, and immediately even, my older clients that can verbally express to me, they're like, wow, that's crazy.
yeah.
And I didn't even know then what I know now,
Yeah.
So, um, just the extent of it and really how to do it. I just knew from what you had us do on ourselves.
Wow.
So I'm super excited.
And we're getting this like before you started implementing it, but in one way it's like, well, that's true in your clinic. I know like your phone was just getting rocked
Yeah.
yesterday, blowing up after it because you were getting people from your team to text you and say, "Hey, I went to go try it out on
Oh, yeah.
their spouse or their kids," or right.
Yes.
So
I
yeah,
think almost every single person probably tried it on their spouse or their significant other last night. Um, which was fun, right?
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. You,
I did too. My sister came over at 9 o'clock at night.
yeah.
Yeah. My husband was standing there watching the whole entire time. I could see him like looking and finally was like, are you going to do it on me? So
Yeah, yeah, and it's because I'm continually because so the floor for people, maybe some people haven't heard it, but I talk about it obviously, and but there's these 4 areas in the body, and I'm showing how if you do very simple holds or releases at these 4 areas, you can see a lot of change in the floor of the mouth, the tongue, and then more than that, the palate and the lips and the cheeks, and it can create a lot of change in the mouth and the body. But you touched on it even more, state changes like
yes.
nervous system and a state of like a whole sense of being. And so, and I just felt like the word phase shift to me needed, it just felt like it kept coming to me. So it's now what it's called. It's when somebody goes into that state,
Mm-hmm.
it's phase shift. How do they get there? The 4-4.
Yeah.
But what would you say if you would give a definition of phase shift, like a one sentence or so definition of what is phase shift?
It is, I would say, the ability of the mind body becoming in sync,
Yeah.
right? So, just that feeling of being present. I think you even heard that from some of our staff. They said that they just feel more present or more grounded. It's just that mind body connection. You're allowing your brain to help your body make the connection because of the state that you're in.
Yeah.
Right. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And yeah, so in just kind of like thinking about this day one before you even had day two today, where
Mhm.
you were just already implementing it,
Yeah.
and your team is telling you they're implementing it, like, you know, what to you stands out as like, okay, because my goal here is almost in teaching this, but also just knowing this is going to be you all taking this and implementing it and
Mhm.
running with it in a way I wouldn't, because I'm not an SLP, I'm not a Myo, I'm not an OT. But so it's going to be cool to see what you find, because you'll find results that I've seen, but I'm only seeing to some extent. And so, what surprised you the most about it, if you would say?
Um, how quickly
Hmm.
it happens, like how quickly you get into that state. I think some of the other things, it really helps me make, especially from a myo perspective, where, we always talk about the importance of the tongue resting on the palate,
Yeah.
right? Um, just really thinking about the back of the tongue, and the importance that that plays in this homeostasis,
Hmm.
has been, I would say, even more eye opening,
Yeah.
um, because we see infants that, come in and they're in an unregulated state. Um, and I've always attributed it to, well, the tongue isn't resting up there, and there might be weakness or whatever else is happening, but it's more than that,
Hmm.
you know. Um, so yeah, I guess that really helped me make that connection and just solidified that for me. Um, I think that just the solidification that everything is connected.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, from the head, not just from the tongue to the toe,
Right.
but from the head to the toe,
Right.
Um, and again, that's why I think it goes along so well with her philosophy,
Mm.
is because we're looking at the whole person,
Yeah.
Um, and I think a lot of times people don't do that. They get so focused, and I even say that to therapists. They get so focused on a goal
Mhm.
that they forget to look at the reaction of what's happening in the body, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Whether that be because you got to make a certain, quota for insurance or whatever it is, but just to take a step back, and you're going to get so much more out of it,
Yeah.
when you can really look at what's happening.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so grateful. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Me
so
too.
grateful.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited because I could just see how much you're gonna run with it. And because the mindset was there, you were so resonant that it's almost like, I think the universe conspires in your favor when you're in pursuit of your personal legend. It's like you this magnetized to you because you're already in that train of thought, like knowing that the whole body, the whole person, it's almost like the floor four is just something that came in, and it'll fit right into a puzzle that you knew that there was a piece for.
Yes.
So I feel like that about this for you. It's like it's like you were beckoning it in a way, and once you saw it, you're like, yes, I didn't know what it was called or I didn't know that it could be this quick, or
Yeah.
So because I think
I didn't even know the possibility there,
Yeah.
but I was open to it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, yeah. So, and it's, yeah, I'm very excited to
Yeah.
implement it.
Yeah. There's a couple aha moments I think I saw you have that I want to ask you about. One of those is maybe no, this was in the slides which I shared, and I realized that I didn't mention this out loud for years, and then when I did, I realized, why am I not saying this more? Because it's almost like we know very little about gestation in one
Mhm.
way and about how
Mhm.
we form. So the moment where I mentioned to you that the mouth we're talking about, it forms. It's called the pharyngeal arches, right?
Yes.
In so the inner ear, and there's a lot here that forms in our throat at 4 or 5 weeks gestation.
Yes.
So that means like if somebody goes to like 40 weeks or 9 months, this is like right at the beginning of the
Yeah.
journey, right? And then that's mention this, that all of us are conceived with tongue tie, lip tie, cheek
Mhm.
ties, and palate formation. That all is there, but then at 11, 12 weeks, the cells can cleave
Yeah.
and these places can dissolve, these tethers, and the palate can align the way it should. But if it doesn't happen, we're left with them.
Right.
So, what was it like to hear that?
Um, I think that, I mean, you know, it's very, it's eye opening, right? I mean, that we all basically, we all have this, but how does the body, does it go through that process? And I think that a lot of the clients that we see, because either there's a syndrome or because, the body hasn't done that for, I don't know what reason,
Yeah,
and sometimes we aren't going to know the reason, right?
yeah,
Um, but it doesn't mean that there's something wrong.
right.
It just means now we have to look at it in a different way,
Mhm,
right? So it just gives you more insight,
mhm.
which then I think will help people be able to treat their patients better, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah. The other moment was when we went in to the diastasis recti abdominis, DRA, ab separation, and
Yeah.
how that and just yeah, what was that like? And
Yeah. It blew my mind, is what I want to say, because just no one has ever talked about that, in my experience. Like, and I've taken quite a few courses, but no one has ever mentioned that being a cause for, okay, like if you feel like you're constantly having to, be readjusted or whatever, that it could be this underlying reason for that. And then why that's happening, because the organs are getting, out of place and they're not maintaining. And that's what, I see a lot with tethered oral tissue, right? Is that people have neck tension, they have posture issues, and they go to a chiropractor or they go to a physical therapist and they're working on posture, and it gets better for maybe that moment,
Mhm.
but it doesn't stick, like you said, right? And it's because they haven't gotten to the underlying root. Well, now I feel like, okay, we've got the floor four, we can address it, and that might be all we need. I don't know.
Yeah.
That really was eye opening to me, because you know, yeah, that was just very, and then how much, you know, that abdominal separation can impact everything else,
Yeah.
and even just putting your body into that, not being able to maintain that homeostasis, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. So that was
Yeah, and
a
we
golden nugget of
well,
information.
well, and not only did a lot of it's like, well, when I had diastasis, my abs never came together because tongue tie and other issues. It's like it's like, well, if those midline issues like tongue tie and narrow palate, if those are there, it's not as easy for the brain to integrate some of these areas, and so I think this is why we have such a corollary instance of if you have they're usually together and not
Hmm.
causative.
Right.
It's like tongue tie doesn't cause ab separation because all babies are born with it, right? So
Right.
we had a baby as a demo where
Yes.
we got to work with that and see change there.
Hmm.
13-year-old girl who came in, and then like some of you all. So it's like
Yeah.
it was, and I've said it before. I have an 80-year-old man who had diastasis, and he never had, so it's like it doesn't mean it doesn't have to be postpartum. It doesn't have to be you've had surgery in
Right.
any area in the abdomen or anywhere else. Literally, it could be developmental, meaning they never close. And the one thing people ask me all the time, even if I've said a bunch of things, they're like, but can you help it?
Yeah.
And
Right.
I'm always like, oh my gosh, I should have led with that. Like, totally. This can
Yes.
change dramatically in a matter of like 1 to 2 months in a lot of cases by getting you in phase shift.
Yeah.
Once you're in phase shift, there's other things we can do, but there's so much progress that's possible when the brain and the body go into this coherent state. What
They
phase
can
shift is.
connect and
Yeah.
communicate, right? I mean, yeah, and I think that's what was so cool is that we saw that happen
Yeah.
with people's bodies, like
Yeah.
the girl that came in or even the baby, right? Um and I don't think that they even knew that was happening. We could just see their body responding to it, which
Yeah.
was cool,
Yeah.
you
It's
know?
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and in one way, like some people are often told, I know I don't have diastasis because I was told that. Like, and I'm like, first of all, anybody even checking for diastasis, credit to you,
Yeah.
because you're checking something that most people don't check. So 100%, I am like grateful somebody's checking it. I've had a lot of people come in who said, "Oh, I was told that it's fully healed," or "I was told that I don't have it," and I'm like, "Let me check." And I'll check it in a way that I taught you all,
Mhm.
that's very thorough. And they're like, "Oh, they didn't check it like that." And I'm like, "Totally, they didn't know." And I'm like, "Yeah, sometimes I'm not like feeling a huge valley.
Right.
Sometimes I'm feeling the rib cage is flaring. Their
Mhm.
pelvic tilt is there." Like somebody
Yes.
mentioned, she's like, "Well, I was always, given adjustments." And I'm like, "Totally. Thank God for chiropractic." But if I
Yes.
keep seeing rib flare and I keep seeing pelvis is anterior, I'm like, I think diastasis has not been identified and helped enough. And I've had people who have gone to amazing people who have done a lot of core work and body work. And I'm like, but they weren't ever brought to phase shift because, first of all,
Right.
I think I'm here to share that. So they didn't have those key areas released that led to them going into this state to where the part of it is on those people. It's like we didn't even work on the abs and they came together some.
Right.
And that's when I know the brain is the driver. The brain is doing it, and if the brain does it without me using my hands to do it, the body's going to hold on to that way more. So it's really like giving the brain a choice, a chance, and a voice to be able
Yeah, to go into that executive function, higher level skill, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, having that clear path. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited. I can't wait to see
I
you
know.
on it.
Everybody's going to be checking for that, okay?
Right. Yeah, and it's kind of like checking that and a few other things that we checked, and it's like I kind of felt like I always feel like, okay, now I'm gonna tell you a little bit more, because if I just say it all up front without having you all gone into phase shift and then demo, it's like a bunch of theories and whatever. Like I would look at all my slides and be like, unless you're showing us that, don't tell me that. I would say that to Neil over there who was talking. I'm like, unless you show us that, don't. And so I feel like it was really cool to see everybody get to experience it.
Yeah.
And so then you can really make sense of it. But I also think it's really good that y'all were really getting the simplicity of it. It's like
Mhm.
most of you were like, yeah, I did a few minutes and got my spouse or like my kid. Just hearing some of those stories this morning, even in Roundup, I'm like, oh, wow, way to go.
Yeah.
You're already doing so much. And we haven't even started day 2. I can tell you're going to run pretty far with it.
Yeah. I'm really excited. And I think for me, I'm just like, it's like, okay, I want more,
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
Totally. Well, I mean, like you will never stop wanting to bring more resources, and
Yeah.
the universe will continue conspiring in your favor. And I feel privileged to have been a part of that, and I'm excited to stay connected in that. I'll be wanting to check in and like find out, like like how's it? Like we're gonna do a post, training Zoom where I just like find a time that works for you. We'll just hop on, and I'll just be checking in with you.
Okay. Yeah.
And at least you, and then Aaron or whoever, and just finding out like how's it going,
Yeah.
because it's one thing to know and it's one thing to implement, but I've seen people do that and they're like, oh my gosh, the things I was doing before, like y'all do like brain gym and things like
Yeah.
that in your processes. You're like, I found I didn't need to do as much of that. But I'm interested to know purely like what is your experience, because that'll be really good. First of all, for me to help even give more feedback and more direction, but also just for me, I'm aware that you are doing things that I'm not doing. So to see what I know and what I do fit into what you do and facilitate it even becoming what it's going to become, it's going to
Yeah,
be cool to see.
that will be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and so for those who are hearing this, and maybe I do want this to spread. I want more people to experience it. Sure, one to one. Come to Indianapolis, come to Kids Abilities. I don't know how much availability you have, but if you're 0 to 21, right? That's
Right.
kind of like,
Yes.
like we're speaking to you.
Yeah.
If you're 0 to 21 years old, your ears are perking up. Or if you have a 0 to 21-year-old kid or grandkid, or it's like
Yeah.
come to Indianapolis, reach out, get a hold of Monica and her team, because they know a lot. Right now, they already knew a lot before I came here, but now they're implementing this, and we're gonna
Yeah.
see where that goes. So, what would you say to those, like any practitioners, or especially like clinics and teams? Like, what would you say to them on like why should they consider this?
Oh, I think, again, from just, from a sensory standpoint, right? So I'm getting the honor to speak at ASHA this year on the sensory system,
Nice, great.
and just the importance of being in that state, of being able to accept information. And I think it's crucial.
Hmm.
It's crucial for everyone. So why should they do it? Because that's what you want your client to be in, because you'll make so much more progress, and that's your ultimate goal, right? um it goes back to there being no limits.
Hmm.
So when our clients come, we we try not to look at age and diagnosis, because that oftentimes puts up this barrier for people, right? But if you go into it thinking, okay, this is where I want you to be, I want you to eat, I want you to be able to do this, you're just going to keep working until you get there, and you're going to let them show you what their potential, not us putting potential on someone.
Yeah, yeah,
So this, I think, is just going to be another resource to help people get to that state where someone can show us their maximum potential.
mm,
you know
yeah. I love that.
yeah, it's going to
Maximum
be
potential.
really powerful.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I would advise, yeah, I would tell people this is definitely, and I will be actually telling people this is something you have to check into.
Yeah.
Because I know just from what we saw in these 2 short days, and the impact that we've had on ourselves, and the impact that we've had on the clients that we've seen so far, the impact we're going to be able to make on
Yeah.
people. It's going to be
Yeah.
great.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
great. I love it. Maximum potential. That's kind of like also that's like a cool banner for like Monica Purdy. Maximum potential. Because you do possible all the possibilities in your story. It's like, yeah, I love that. Love that.
Well, that's always our goal, right? Is so that people can, achieve their
Yeah.
maximum potential.
Yeah. Well, it takes, if we're talking about I have a big thing where I'd say the floor of the mouth is a dam, and a dam is like this, intentional blockage to create the energy, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so meaning like the tongue goes up to the roof of the mouth and creates this blockage, but it's not blockage; it's opening up.
Right.
Anyways, but I think of like but for potential energy to turn into kinetic energy, there's a translation there, and so I just think that with the potential that you see in people, you're putting into motion this kinetic energy that they can have if they have access. And so some people won't know, but they don't need to know everything. Like that mom, where I'm like, okay, I could teach her how to do a bunch of things that I just showed, that we just taught on for that baby. But I'm like, I'm just going to show her one thing, and she's going to release that right side of the kidney
Yep.
on baby multiple times a day, and that's going to help with all these issues that that little baby was dealing with a lot of things that you're going to
Mm-hmm.
help with. But since you're here, you are not only have the amazing team that's going to see that little baby, but you are going to be carrying the load of like, mom doesn't need to know all this.
Right.
That's why you're here.
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to take what I showed and go further because you already have helped. She was talking about you've already helped her and the baby, but now with what we saw today, it's like you're going to even more uncover the maximum potential, more
Yes.
potential there.
Right.
And you're carrying, it's like the village mentality of like, people don't need to know everything. So in Indianapolis, there's this place called Kids Abilities where people can come that people like you have worked really hard to solve problems so that you can just come and play and find some healing.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
So
right.
I think that's a great thing. So now we've got, the floor 4 lives here.
Yes, it does.
That's amazing.
Yes, it
So
does.
I'm very privileged to have that. I'm really thankful that you brought me here. I have one more thing to ask you. Oh, no, it'll come to me. But yeah, but I want people to know. Obviously, I think I asked Aaron too. You all have a really good like Facebook page. People can reach out to you on
Yes.
Facebook
Yes.
and like Kids Abilities IN.
That's our Instagram.
That's your Instagram.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Kids Abilities Indiana is our website,
Great.
and then I think it's Kids Abilities Indy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People will know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Any other things that people can know? What you want people to know about? How can they? Are those the best places for people to reach out other than your
Yes.
website, other
Yeah.
than calling, things like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, we're pretty simple in that regard.
Great. No, that's perfect.
Yeah, that would be me trying to run all that stuff.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, people if they can call or email us too. We are really responsive to emails.
Great. I did want to ask you the second part of my question of personal legend. I mentioned that part of it is what's your story, and I feel like we've heard really good parts of that.
Okay.
Now, a legend on a map is this key, has symbols and things where you know how to navigate like a map when you look at that key. Like it tells you like how far it is from here. Like if you have a map and you
Yes.
see like from here to here is an inch, but that really is 10 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's different symbols that tell you what's here. And so in your life, what's a legend? What are and it could be like some daily practices or weekly practices or mindsets. I feel like you've already shared this too, but what are some things that you do and how do you stay tuned in to keeping on this path of pursuing?
I think the philosophy of just like where God guides, He provides.
Yeah.
That's just something that I always think about, and um, how do I stay on that path?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just because I get um affirmation from what I see
Mhm.
others doing around me, right? Um yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. You just do what feels good,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, for you, what feels good is like what feels good, and it's like you see, like you see the effect it's having on people.
Yeah.
And I can see that. And you said, yeah, I think you said just like you want to help people. You've known that you wanted to help people for quite a long time after wanting to be a fighter pilot. So
Yeah,
that's like,
yeah, exactly.
yeah. So since you shifted from that to like healing, it's like yeah, you wanted to help people, and you're obviously helping in some pretty deep ways. And so I think that there is aspirational and like it's pretty amazing. So yeah, and your cool quotes. I feel like when I walk by and I read that, I'm like, yes, yeah, like
Well, and it's, my husband would always make fun of me because when we first got married, I'm really drawn to like quotes and things,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I had up all types of them. But yeah, then I've kind of, because I have the clinic now, I can hang them here and, not so much at home, like in front of everyone. But it just it helps. Start each
Yeah.
day with a grateful heart. And you know what
Yeah,
I mean? It just
you mentioned
reminders.
that. Yeah, you mentioned gratitude, and that was very much like I can tell. Yeah, gratitude has a big place in your life as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, good. I feel like we got to see a lot, and then, like I said, I'm gonna check in, and I'm excited to see how it goes from here. So we'll have to do another conversation later. But yeah, I believe that we're on this planet, and we get to journey and we get to help people. So, you know, if there's a lot speech and feeding tongue tie, and you could probably say like, sensory processing issues. There's other
Mhm.
things that you specialize in. What are like another like few bullet points of like things that you help with?
Well, I think just in general, our clinic is very sensory oriented.
Yeah.
So we look at every system, the 8 different systems of the body, and how they help you process information so that you can achieve a higher level executive function,
Yeah.
abilities, right? Um, but I very much so look at the motor system, and that's again why I think just all this fits so nicely. So if you're in that good state, you can access your motor system, which is going to be very helpful. And the other thing I found really interesting
Hmm.
was the tone,
Yeah.
and how because that's often something that I find a lot of people, we always talk about you're not really changing tone, you're changing muscle that
Hmm.
makes you look more tone. But this is where I think it's the thought that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that your brain is allowing that muscle to come online.
Hmm.
And that's the tone shift that you
Yes.
see, right?
Yes.
Which
Yes.
is cool.
Yeah.
So whether it be high tone or low tone, it's the connection,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, we could say like homeostasis, or in chiropractic they say innate intelligence, or in other fields you talk about coming to a state of balance, and not equilibrium but balance. And I'm like, yeah, but it's true, but like I gave you all this analogy of like, it's like celery. The floor four is like celery, and everybody's like, what are you talking about, Neil? And I'm like, well, because celery, it regulates the sodium potassium pump. So if you have low blood pressure and you take celery, it raises your blood pressure to a good state. If you have high blood pressure, you take it and it lowers your blood pressure to a good state.
Yeah.
So the floor four and phase shift creates tone change where the body needs it. And I do think what you're saying is so true, that conventionally we've been taught that you can't do that. Well, the brain can.
Yes.
And
Right.
if you unlock this ability, especially, with what we're talking, like this applies to everybody on the planet, that you can have this happen. Because if fascial work is great, but it's changing connective tissue tension, but the brain is actually aware of how to make that change. So if you allow the brain to work through the floor
Yes.
four, then the brain can distribute increased tone where there is hypotonic and weak areas, and then it can simultaneously decrease tone when it's hypertonic and spastic. And I'm like, I can't do that. My fingers can't do that. I can't do body work on an area to
Yeah.
increase tone. I can, but it takes forever and it doesn't last. This is like a few minutes or so, and the brain can reorganize. I mean,
And the brain is amazing,
the
right?
brain's amazing. So
Yeah.
it's like if we had a third person here called the brain, we'd be like, "Brain, you're just so amazing."
Yeah, right.
Yeah. God's like, "Hey," and I'm like, "No, God, you made the brain, so
Yeah.
you're amazing. You know that. You don't need the credit." And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, I know I prayed like so. So then prayer's not for us, for God, it's for us, right? It's like,
Mhm.
well, yeah. So um, I think the brain deserves all the credit. So right here, brain,
Yeah.
we credit you, we value you. But all jokes aside, um, I really love when it lands, because some people are like, "Well, that's interesting," but when you see kids and you see people and you're like, tone is coming up every day,
Mhm.
hypotonic, low tone, because the back of the tongue, if it can't lift because of lack of tone, you can't stretch that.
No,
It's
there's
not going to work.
yeah, and that's where I'm that component of this I'm very excited about, you know? Um, I work a lot with the Down syndrome community,
Yeah.
and just, low tone is, it's part of the diagnosis at times, and just being able to make an impact in that, it will be very cool to see,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Stay
Yeah.
tuned and stay toned.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah, well, definitely pass this episode along to anybody who needs anything that she has. Monica has at Kids Abilities. If you're in Indiana or you want to travel in, Just it's an amazing center. It's so fun, so colorful, so playful. But that's all there, but also great, like excellent clinicians. So yeah, pass this along. And even if you're not going to travel here, you just somebody who needs to know what's possible
Yes.
for hope, encouragement, and also tactical help with the body and with healing. Pass this along, share this, and then also comment. Send us messages. We can't wait to hear what you think about this episode in particular.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Compromise to Alchemize podcast. Really excited to thank Jessica from Lunalux for the music. This track called Major. I want to thank Toshi, who originally did the design work for my cover art. And then I also want to thank Alyssa from my team for podcast publishing, and my whole team, including Kat, for heading up my world. And then also definitely want you all to follow me on YouTube, follow the podcast on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcast, comment, give us a rating, and also follow me on Instagram at Dr. Neil Bulchandani so you can stay tuned to my latest. Thanks so much, and you have an amazing day.
This is major.